So I think for me, like I was mentioning a little bit earlier, for me, it was more about the community than it was about even me finding a job at that point. It was to meet people that were in my position that were anxious about what was going on in the world and losing a job. And some of them I even remember talking to in the beginning and through LinkedIn. It's the first time they ever went through this. I unfortunately have actually been through this my previous job before this one that I just got laid off from. So it's not like you ever get used to this, but it's something I had gone through, and the employees that I went through it with, we were kind of a community. But then through I'd Hire Me, it kind of gave me that sense of, hey, there are greener pastures, and there's something that they can really bring to me and help me get out there in front of people. Um, the first thing I remember you saying, which I try and kind of put into everything that I do now, and even on a call yesterday with this potential client that I might have, is not saying I, is coming back to it as it's a successful approach when you tell what the company you worked for did instead of what you did. And it's all I. And I've even tried to even go back now that my job is behind me to do that on my LinkedIn page as well. Um, One of the other people I've watched a lot of videos on is Dunlap. Um, he mentioned something to, I can't remember what the person's name was, but it was even as simple as making yourself a banner on your LinkedIn profile by using that Convo website. So I actually went on there, and I'm sure you guys can take a look, but I used a Michael Jordan quote because I just finished the Last Dance documentary. But it just made sense to me. It was one of those things that it's so easy to do this, to kind of not have a New York City skyline background, or not have the little ring around your picture that they now make you put on when you're open to work. It's like those little things that I even Googled to see what other people were doing. And another thing that I would definitely recommend everybody listen to you guys about too is really making yourself a brand. And it's tough for, it was tough for me, I think, in the beginning to understand what you meant by that, because I was so entwined with financial corporation. Like, that's who I was. I wasn't Brian Spiewak. I was RCS Capital, or I was AR Global, depending on which company I was working for at the time. Um, but I think that's another thing that I'm still working on myself to this day. I have to figure out how to kind of put aside that I was part of a team and start to really understand what I can bring to the table just myself. And I think one of the cool things was, even on the call for this freelance opportunity, to try and figure out a way to position it where I can do these things without a team if necessary. And I can help a company strive, or I can help a company build a pitch about themselves and tell their story a bit better. Um, so I guess that's the extent of why I would tell someone to join, but it goes way beyond that. I think you guys have done a hell of a job just bringing everyone together and starting this during a time like this, where it's scary out there, no matter if you have a job or not. I mean, it's scary to even be in New York City, and fortunate enough, I'm out of the city right now, but um, just living on unemployment and going through all that, it's, you need support, and that's what you guys bring. I think for me, I guess it was one of those things where, in my position, I had a team always around me. And for the past 3 years or so at my work, I didn't. I had to farm out work, and I had to use freelance resources and sort of take on things by myself. But to that extent, as much as my work would say I was the jack of all trades, I don't know that much about some of the things in terms of marketing. I wouldn't consider myself an expert in social media. I wouldn't consider myself by any means a graphic designer. Do I have skills in both? Of course I do, but I'm by no means someone who's going to shy away from expressing weakness if I have one. Obviously, I would love to say that every weakness can be flipped around and be a strength. And in every interview, that's probably what the interviewer hears. Um, but what I got out of this more was um, I feel like the way to approach it instead of the way to just go about talking about yourself. And I think the best example is some of those emails with Steve and Interseller. Just listening to him talk to the other Steve about the, you'll laugh because I remember her name. Her name was Katy Perry. um, we emailed her, and I'm not going to remember exactly what it said, but she had this thing in her profile on LinkedIn, and the job description basically said that you should be out of the box. You should, I'm not going to remember the exact phrasing, but we used that so perfectly in that email that if that didn't get her attention, I don't know what she was doing that day that was so important, because it was one of the greatest emails I've ever seen. I think, oh, you know what it was? It was deadlines. It was must meet deadlines or something like that. She had written into the job description. And I was like, well, everyone meets deadlines. My old company used to tell me it was due yesterday, and you under promise and over deliver. But we wrote something amazing to her to get her attention. And I just would have never thought like an outside the box type of email like that is something that can get you an interview or get you in front of someone. I guess my whole thinking is, well, I've interviewed so many people in my life and they've just written me a thank you note and that's the end of it. But now there are so many people in my position and the position where you have to get someone's attention that that email just resonated. I think it was either one of you or someone else that you're connected with on LinkedIn even posted a job the other day. I think it's the CEO of The Hustle that I actually sent to another person because his LinkedIn essentially said, if you don't like your current position or you've been furloughed, come work with me. And it was just cool to see that that guy's out there. He's the CEO of a company just asking for help. And that's another thing too, I guess I should mention is through your connection on LinkedIn, I'm seeing more and more people. So like you'll comment on someone's post and then I'll check out that person, sort of a backdoor into getting a hold of these people by kind of leaping on your shoulders to get there. This process has made me definitely more comfortable because not that I would say I'm very anxious in terms of public speaking, but I think everyone has those butterflies at some point. And now it's like when you do this, it's not like walking into a boardroom where like my CEO used to sit and pitching him on something. It's, oh, well, now I have to turn my computer on and then you wait. And there's always like that join audio button. And then you turn your camera on and it's the whole process. I'm sort of, like you said, I'm in a unique situation where I'm okay right now trying to go out and find freelance and contract work, but I know that a lot of people are looking for full-time positions and I am too, but I think the biggest thing is just, if I had to give a piece of advice, I guess it would just be, listen, there's a lot of people in our position right now, and there's a lot of people out there that want to help. And you guys are two of the best that I've met over these past 3.5 months. So I hope that other people will join because of this. I'm not just BSing, just so everybody knows. I'm not just sugarcoating it and sweet talking you guys. It's definitely helped. I mean, even with me, it's one of those things where I haven't gotten a job out of it, but it feels like I'm part of something. So that's what I was trying to get across.